can do is just tell the truth and trust in the American people that over time they're going to know what the truth is.
Yes, it is time for the truth. Right here, right now. This is the Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives. With your host, John Matthews.
The latter-day prophet.
Baying against the hypocrisies of our time.
And Joe Hakos.
You want answers.
I want the truth.
You can't handle the truth.
The Conservative Syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together, we seek to tear down the imaginary wall, a separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your host on the globally syndicated Conservative Syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Hakos.
And how are we doing out there? All across this great land and around the world. That time again right here at the Conservative Syndicate, coming to you live coast to coast and around the world. Nationally acclaimed, globally syndicated, the Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos. Boy, I just noticed my voice just pitched up about 20 octaves there, just there for a moment. I don't know what that's about. It certainly isn't puberty. Maybe I'm going in the opposite direction now. I don't know. Anyway, glad to have you with us this afternoon. We got a good show for you lined up today. I want to bring on Joe Hakos, my partner in crime here, because we have something special we want to start the show with today. So you have the con, my friend.
Well, thank you, John. Thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, just in honor of an American hero, please listen up. Here we go.
Engine start.
May the wee ones be with you, Thomas.
Good Lord, ride all the way.
Give Godspeed, John Glenn. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
American hero who has passed away, and he's circling the moon and doing all the things he wants to do. Just the guy that, if we can only have more guys like him around, that would be great. So I just wanted to pass that along to the family of John Glenn and everything who passed away today. He was, definitely an American hero. So I just wanted to start the show out like that today. So I appreciate that, John.
Yeah, great piece. We had... there is one little thing about John Glenn. February 18th, I believe, 1963, I believe, was when he was launched and was not the first astronaut in space, but I believe the first one to actually circle the globe and then come back down. I think Alan Shepard was the first one to actually launch and then came back down, if I'm right.
Well, it was 62, and Alan Shepard went into low Earth orbit. Didn't make any orbits, but he was, he went up into space. So he's actually technically in space. John Glenn was the first American to orbit the globe.
Right, exactly. But the thing I remember the most about it, that was the day my youngest sister was born.
Cool.
That's how we mark the holidays. That's how we do it in our house. We don't mark by the birth. We mark it by the holidays. My birthday is on Cinco de Mayo. So that's when I remember it's my birthday. Somebody, oh yeah, Cinco de Mayo. Oh yeah, that's right. Today's my birthday. It's Ellie's birthday today. Oh yeah, that's right. John Glenn circled the earth.
Yeah, which was pretty cool. And it was pretty crazy, because he was up there and they weren't real sure about things. And then systems said that the heat shield was loose and everything, and they didn't know if he was going to make it back in re-entry or not, because entering the Earth's atmosphere, the heat shield had to be there. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, the friction of the atmosphere would burn him up. And it held together, and he landed back safely. And the rest is, as they say, history.
Yeah, and another remarkable thing about John Glenn, he served in Congress, but did what most people do when are supposed to do when they serve in Congress. He served and then left. He didn't plant his flag in the halls of Congress and say, "I'm going to stay here till I die."
Yeah, you're going to wheel me out of here. Yeah, exactly. Make sure the hallways are wide enough for my blocks.
Yeah. In line with that, I'm just wondering, Joe, did you catch the little blip on the radar yesterday about the Senate bidding farewell to Joe Biden?
I saw a little bit of it, the tearfulness, and then I saw, as I was scrolling through the channel guide today, I see C-SPAN had Harry Reid's farewell address.
Well, yeah, what it was what got me. Those things, there's certain things that just make me cringe. One is having to look at Barack Obama. Two is having to look at Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell's up there, just loud and just laying all kinds of praise on Joe Biden.
Yeah,
what a good friend he is. Yeah, what a good friend he is and a partner he is. And I'm thinking, oh, geez. Come on.
Yeah, it is sickening to watch these guys. And it's like, really, if you let them alone, and if we could duel back in the day, the Alexander Burr and the Hamilton thing, if we could get out, if Aaron Burr, if we could do that, have a duels again today, these guys would be out back behind the halls of Congress shooting at each other. I mean, for crying out loud, these guys can't stand each other. Or if they do stand each other, then they are as sick as they seem to be.
Yeah.
And a reason why we should really have a 17th Amendment repealed.
Right. Well, exactly. That's my point, is that when you got somebody like Mitch McConnell, it's not like, I don't think he was like snowballing or, just being polite or etiquette or anything else. I think he believed what he says, because Mitch McConnell, he's much more a friend of Joe Biden's than he is against the people that have elected him. That's for sure.
Yeah, I for crying out loud. I mean, and Harry Reid, for crying out loud, he's a rat.
Yeah.
I mean, rats have more integrity than Harry Reid.
Oh yeah, Reid. The one thing about Reid that you can really say, he's honest about his corruption.
Well, yeah, you could say he's out front with it.
Yeah. One of the last interviews I heard from him, just a few weeks ago, I think it was, and somebody actually asked him, how low will you go? And the way that was worded, how low would you go to get what you want? And he said, well, I haven't run across that yet.
Yeah, that's a limbo, baby. I'm doing a limbo.
Yeah, that must be from that DNA in his family. I understand his family has a history of being horse thieves back in the day.
What did they do to horse thieves back in the day?
Yeah, they hung them. Stealing a horse was worse than stealing a wife.
Yeah, they hung him or they shot him before they could hang him.
Yeah. So amazing. Now, before we go to a break here in a couple of minutes here, I want to just kind of lay out what we're going to do today. We're going to talk. Jonathan Dunn was supposed to be in our show a couple of days ago, and there was some type of massive internet blackout that took place over in Ireland, and he was not able to come on the show. If you listen to the show, I believe it was Monday.
Yeah, Monday.
We were talking back and forth here why we couldn't connect with him, and it was because he lost all internet access. He had not only his internet but his phone, and I guess it was nationwide. He sent us an article. I guess Virgin is the carrier over there, and they just something happened. It was never explained. I asked him, did they tell you what it was? And he said no, but they seldom do. But anyway, so he was not able to come on Monday. So he's going to come on with us today, and he's unique in the sense that here is a man outside of the United States, lives over in Dublin, Ireland. He's been sitting on the waiting list for 12 years to get a visa to come over here to the United States. Has an exceptional view and a very articulate view on American exceptionalism. And the way he frames it is he wants to get out of Ireland because he wants to escape a socialist country. And I find that intriguing. I've made some trips to Ireland. I've been to Dublin a couple of times. And, for all intents and purposes, I have to be honest, you never would know it to be a socialist type of environment. But then again, you're as a tourist, you don't look for that kind of thing.
Yeah, you don't live there.
Yeah, you don't live there. I can say one thing, why we were there. One thing that we noticed, just, because living in the United States, you see it all the time. We noticed, I did not see one homeless person over there. Now, I don't know if that means they keep them in internment camps or they, execute them or whatever. But, but I didn't see anything like that over there. And, but then again, I've always thought socialism might be a good form of government if you're in a country where you only have 3 or 4 million people living, but in a country like ours, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work. I'm sorry, but then again, I don't know. I remember commenting to my wife, it wouldn't be bad to live here until I found out that it was socialist. Then I said, well, scratch that.
Wow. Yeah. So, wait, I think we got to go to a break. And just to reiterate, Godspeed, John Glenn. Thank you for everything you've done as you served this country. You're probably one of the reasons why I went in the military was John Glenn. So
So now he is once again up there looking down. So we got to go to break. We'll be right back. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. A healthy attitude toward politics will always be relentlessly cynical. TheConservativeSyndicate.net, doing our part to keep America healthy.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-790-5960. That's 1-800-790-5960. Again, 1-800-790-5960. Call now.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification require cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live Daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decisions concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Attention taxpayers. If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. When you call, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you've been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately. Call this special tax hotline today for free info at 1-866-761-0959. That's 1-866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959.
Don't get your panties all in a bunch.
TheConservativeSyndicate.net, exposing weapons of mass distraction. Okay, hey, we're back, and you are listening to the Conservative Syndicate, and not by accident, by divine design, as we like to refer to it here at the Conservative Syndicate. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hikos, and we have a special guest with us today, Jonathan Dunn, founder of the website Freedom's Disciple. I went on the website yesterday and looked it over. Pretty solid website. And Jonathan is also involved and works with Glenn Beck over there at the Blaze, writes for the Blaze as a contributor, and also works with Chris Pyle out here, one of our affiliates here at the Lanterns Buzz. And we thought to have him on here today because he's unique. He is one of the few people, it seems like today, on the outside of our borders, looking in, wishing he was here, and going through the process. And I thought, who better to have on the show than somebody that understands immigration from a European perspective, particularly Brexit and all the other stuff that's going on over there. So how are you doing tonight there, Jonathan?
Good afternoon, Joe. John, thanks so much for having me.
Oh, we're glad to have you. And I'll just start out the conversation here a little light here. I've been over to Ireland a couple of times. Dublin is probably my favorite city from the ones I've been over there. Galway probably falls in second, but I just love the entire atmosphere over there. And I'm kind of curious, just curious. I mean, I'm not trying to doubt your position or perspective here, but you commented that you're trying to get away from there because it's a socialist country. Can you explain to our listeners what exactly that means?
Sure. There's no rights. We don't understand that rights come from God. We don't understand revolutionary terms that Americans are familiar with, like that all are created equal. Over here, we still very much have a very strict class system. You're judged on any type of criteria from gender to race to where you come from to your family to where you live to where you went to college, school, and what level you had. The difference is there is no Irish dream. A lot of people just see their lives as this is as good as it gets. It's incredibly hard to do business over here. The tax rates, the corporate tax rate is very good. It's very competitive. It's 12.5%. It's Ireland's biggest selling point, why it gets a lot of multinationals in. But when it comes to, we have a very, very, very progressive tax code. So just to put this into context, if you earn, it's about 30,000 euros. The exchange rate's not great in a minute. If you earn 33,000 euros or dollars, you pay a 40% tax rate. Wow, that is steep. So, yeah. The regulations are absolutely incredible. The difference between Ireland and America, and it's the same whether you put in Ireland into this sentence, Britain, Europe, Australia, any country, is there is no freedom movement. We accept over here for granted that any problem that turns up, it's government is the answer. There is no should government do it, it's what will government do. And then we have this big debate over, well, the left says we should do this and the right says we should do this. But it's never a debate of, well, what's the individual going to do? Should government do anything? Does government have a place to do it? Is it constitutional? These are questions that are never asked. It's, what are we going to do? And then we have a big debate over what we do and how much money we spend and who will we put in charge. And it's just never, ever is about freedom. And that's the truly sad thing.
Wow, that is a remarkable perspective, because I know when I was over there, one of the things that I noticed, we spent some time up in Northern Ireland, and then, of course, down in Dublin and over in Galway. My people come from a township called Toonts. It's just outside of Galway, and so that's why I wanted to go back there. I wanted to see where my grandparents came from. And anyway, one of the things I noticed, we went on a couple of train tours, and we're sitting with people on the train talking. And I have to tell you, I love the people over there. I didn't meet one person over there I didn't like. But maybe it's because everybody is so submissive, that kind of thing. I'm not really sure. But one of the things I could not do is I could not get people to engage in political conversations. I found that really unique, because every other country I've been to, and I've been to quite a few, people will talk. Now, they may not agree with anything you're saying, but at least they'll discuss it. But I couldn't find anybody that would really get into a debate about anything that was going on over there. And is that because of the political atmosphere over there?
That's kind of weird. You'll usually get people who'll talk after a few pints. They get them in. The one thing I will say, Irish people are really nice people. When it comes to freedom, I have nothing in common with the Irish people. When it comes to principles, I have very little. But I will always say they're lovely people. They're nice people. They're friendly. It's a country I would strongly recommend you visit. But to live here, to set up for your future, it's not a country I personally would recommend. When it comes to the politics, you've got to bear in mind Irish politics is still very much defined by 1916. In that the two major parties who have had a grip on Irish politics for 100 years now the grip is loosening, and it is Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil. And basically the big division is called Civil War politics. One wanted the 26 counties agreement, and one said, no, we must hold out to get 32. And if the Irish Civil War was fought over this, and to this day, even 100 years later, that is still very much a division. You will very rarely see Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael agree, the two parties. Now, it's starting to happen now because of the last term, because they usually get about 80% of the vote between them and everybody else gets the remainder. This cycle, they got 47% between them, I think it was, or maybe 48. So they're starting to talk and negotiate, but you can still see the divisions. The old school boys are like, we shouldn't be talking to these boys. We shouldn't be, negotiating with them. So it's just the way it goes.
Wow, that's really remarkable. But another thing I did notice over there, just a quick comment here. I really hadn't planned on sitting here asking for a tour of the country, but there's some things that I just noticed over there. I just want to I have questions about. One of the things we did do, we went to several of the churches in Dublin. We went to Christ Church and St. Patrick's, St. James, St. Valentine's, because my wife's still believes a lot in Catholicism. And one of the things I did notice was that the bigger the church, there wasn't really anything that I would refer to or call, church services. And we did finally get over to a mass over at St. Valentine's. And one of the things I noticed was, Jesus, there's nobody under 60 in here. And and I'm just wondering, well, if this generation dies, is Christianity going to die with it?
It's evolving. There's major problems in Christianity over here in that there's still very much in a lot of sectors that very strong divide between Catholic and Protestant, where one will look down on the other. Now it's mellowed over the last 5, 10, 15 years, but in certain places, again with the old school people, it is still very much there. There are people who would say if you're a Protestant, you're not far removed from Satan. And you would have the same Protestants and others who would say that about Catholics. There is a lot of division, there's a lot of mistrust, and then they just don't like other religions. So when I told some of my friends my boss is a Mormon, they kind of lost their mind. Their facial expression was so funny. The church services are dwindling. The priests are dwindling. There's a lot of priests over here who are either extremely old or not Irish. And it's getting harder, and church services are being reduced because they just, number one, they haven't got enough priests to do all the work, and number two, they haven't got enough of a crowd. So it's definitely a concern. But this is the problem that we live in, with term you'll be familiar with. It's man's law versus God's law. In Europe right now, man's law is key. And that starts in the church, it starts in the home, and it starts in society. And we are very much a man's law creation in Ireland and in Europe and in the rest of the world. And that's why I speak out so much in America to say, don't come like us. Go the path of your founders. Go the path of God's law, that rights come from God. And whatever the rights you are, we can disagree on what rights you have, but they come from God, and it's government's job to ensure them. They are never up for debate. It's not, this election is about the right to free speech. Do you have it or do you not? No, this comes from God. It's never up for debate. It's in the Constitution. Whereas in Ireland, you could have debates like that.
So would it be safe to say that the fact that socialism is so deeply entrenched over there that has helped basically destroy the concept of religion and God being first?
And part of it is also Christianity doing it to itself. Especially in Ireland, there's a lot of sects within the Catholic Church and I mean sects, I don't mean different types. I just mean they have different sets of beliefs. So like one thing you'll see over here, there are some people who would say I'm an Old Testament Christian or I'm a New Testament Christian. Now I'm not saying, if you understand where that phrase came from, it's very European in nature, and that's all I'll say. There are very much, we believe in a certain type of thing. The Catholic Church, for example, in Ireland, openly believes in Palestine, does not believe in Israel, would in certain parts believe Israel is an evil nation and should be dealt with by the UN. So it's very much embraced the Palestinian movement. It's very much embraced that type of movement, and that's sad. And some of the stuff I hear preached from the church when I used to be a Catholic was incredible. I heard from the pulpit priests saying Jesus was a socialist. Oh, yeah. Last Christmas, I went to a Catholic church for services. I walked out at the sermon because the sermon started, Jesus the Palestinian. Yeah. That is the type of stuff you hear preached at different places. Now, there are still some very good Catholics. There are some very devout Catholics who are very old school. And they're not standing for much. They're not doing a whole lot. I wish they'd do a lot more and get in more in the community. But it's just trying to find the right people.
From what you're saying here, believe it or not, Jonathan, that's very much what's taking place over here right now. The church has become very complicit when it comes to talking about God as the overall sovereign rule of the nation, and it's not so much that we're hearing about issues over here like homosexuality and abortion, stuff like that. We're not hearing from the pulpit, these are good things or bad things. We're hearing absolutely nothing. And so what that when we talk about the vacuum, I talk about it on this show all the time. The vacuum that was created that allowed somebody like a Barack Obama in office is because the church has been complicit in talking and discussing political issues for fear of losing their tax-exempt status. And it turns out that they're coming after the church anyway. So we're kind of hoping that, at some point in time, the pastors, in fact, we sometimes pray, when we pray about our country and our nation, we pray that God allows Congress to take away our tax-exempt status, because then these people can't hide anymore. And maybe it would be what would activate them. Maybe it would be, hit them in the wallet. That might work, but very much what you're describing is something that we're actually undergoing right now, that transformation of leaving God, government is government and God is God, and never should the two meet, that kind of thing. And that's very interesting. Very interesting. I've already learned so much just from listening to you in just a few minutes here that explains a lot of what I stand corrected on some things, because I really, when I left Ireland the second time, I really thought, God, this is a great place. I just love it.
No, it is a really nice place, and if you come here, they're really nice places, and you'll have a good time, and you'll meet lots of nice people, and it's just when it comes to the it's a soft tyranny. You're all of a sudden not allowed to do anything. You're not allowed to, business is not allowed to do this, and it just stopped. And it's rules and regulations. It's very familiar with, what President Obama has done with executive orders. It's gone. And if tax rates go up, they just go up, and there's no excuse for it. And there's no dream. When you earn anything, you earn about $33,000. I think it's about 30,000 euros. So the exchange rate will change because it's really bad at the minute. But if you earn everything penny, you earn over $33,000 in Ireland, you pay 40% tax. Oh. You can't plan. You cannot plan to build yourself up, because you can't work hard, save and work hard and then buy your business when you're paying 40% tax rate. That's incredible. And that's the sad thing. But going back to just on the churches, I'm really concerned. I'm a very big Christian. I speak out as much as I can about churches. I think I try and talk to Christians in a way that you try and end what I call the Christian purity test. I grew up in a nation where Catholics look down on Protestants and Protestants look down on Catholics. It's not healthy. No. I can never understand it when you say you believe in God, you claim Jesus Christ as your Savior, and you believe in the Scriptures, that they are divinely inspired and written by God. Anything else that you can talk about theology-wise, whether you pray to Mary, whether you pray to Joseph or not, respect that. I'm not going to convert you. That's your beliefs. But we can focus on the big things. You know, there is nothing bigger than God. And when I hear Americans say, oh, my tax exempt status, or, you know, we can't do this, or we have to be careful, it really frustrates me, because going back to history, most people would say, when was the let me ask you, when was the Revolutionary War in America? When did it start?
Well, it actually started before the Declaration of Independence. I think about my 1776. Let's go with that one.
Okay, I would make an argument it started around 1720. You could actually make the argument it started with the Mayflower. But, you know, what made you great? You know, the Declaration of Independence, all men been created equal at certain inalienable rights, life, liberty, and property as it was originally written, or life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, whichever version you want to use. They just didn't come up with that. That was stuff they heard from your pulpits. You cannot talk about American history without talking about the role of your pulpits. If you don't have a strong church in America in the late 1600s and the early 1700s, you do not have America that you have today. That is the role your pulpits played. And we need to work in such a way that where religions can come together, agree to disagree on certain parts, but if you can agree God is great, we are to do his thing, divine providence, because I do believe in it, that the Bible is divinely inspired and that Jesus Christ is your Savior, we can get to a point where we say, in America, the church is key to renewal. Yes. I don't see how you can save America without the church. I just don't see it happening. Yeah, I agree with you 100%, and you are right. I stand corrected. The Mayflower was the beginning of the Christian Revolution, which led to the American Revolution. We got to take a quick break here. We've got Jonathan Dunn, founder of the Freedom's Disciple website, and one of the people that work with the Blaze, a contributor, I guess I'm going to call him that at this point. Stay with us, guys. We'll be right back right after these messages.
Hey, I'll make you a deal. Give me 60 seconds and I'll give you directions to the Fountain of Youth. Okay, I'm joking. Well, kind of joking. No fountains, but youth, I got Nature's Youth and their premier anti-aging product, Nature's Youth RSF. With your sensible diet and exercise plan, Nature's Youth RSF can help you look and feel better. RSF is an all-natural amino acid supplement that supports your body to naturally increase HGH levels without any synthetic hormones. And elevated HGH levels can contribute to increased energy, improved libido, reduced body fat, and improved exercise capacity. Let's be honest, who doesn't want to look and feel younger? Visit the newly designed website at naturesyouth.com or call 800-333-6923. That's 800-333-6923, and like them on Facebook and you'll be included in contest and exclusive offers. What a deal. Oh, speaking of deals, my time's about up. 800-333-6923 or naturesyouth.com. Who needs a fountain anyway? Call today.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
When I had a heart attack at 42, I was not sure what the future held. But a year later, the doctors could find nothing wrong with me and took me off all my medication. What did I do? I took a herbal mixture of garlic, cayenne, and a few other herbs mixed in liquid form. I now call this Extendovite. I would have never believed that a few simple herbs could actually change my life like they did. Now it's your turn to see what the powers of garlic and cayenne can do for you. For only $69.95 plus shipping and handling for a 2-month supply of either capsules or liquid, you too can begin on your path to better health. For more information, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822. Or visit our website at heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
I've owned my company for 14 years now, and I can tell you that payroll is a 4-letter word. I hate doing it. It eats up hours I don't have, and it costs me money I could be saving. But my accountant's too expensive, and I'm not sure who to call, but I know I need help.
We're Paychex, and we take all the hassles out of small business payroll. We save you time and money. It's easy. Call, fax, or give us your payroll information securely online, and we take care of the rest. We calculate the correct taxes, manage payments and direct deposits. We even send out your checks. Payroll doesn't need to be a 4-letter word anymore. We're so sure that we can save you time and money that we'll give you a month's payroll free. Just for calling 877-663-3830. Get 1 month's payroll for free. Call Paychex right now. 877-663-3830. That's 877-663-3830.
Hey, I don't back anybody unless I believe in them, and I do believe in the value of investing in gold and silver. And the company I trust to buy my gold and silver from is Swiss America. I've been working with them for nearly a decade. I trust them, and you can too. Swiss America will help you sort through and find the best options available when you're considering investing in gold and silver coins. Listen, for over 30 years, Swiss America has been offering Americans what they want in their investments: safety, liquidity, quality, reliability, and a potential profit. Gold and silver have a place in every investor's portfolio. So, why not let Swiss America help you diversify your investment portfolio now? Call now for free information. 800-978-3907, 800-978-3907, 800-978-3907, 800-978-3907.
Hey, Bugsy, you hear the news about Vinny?
Yeah, it's a real shame he owed money to the IRS and they finally cut up with him.
Just like Al Capone.
If the IRS can get to Capone, imagine what they can do to little old Vinny, huh?
Poor cat, he was on top of the world, then bada boom, bada bing.
What Vinny needs now is an offer he can't refuse.
Hey, you got a tax problem? Does the IRS claim you owe them a bunch of dough? They can get you too. So call the tax relief line now and learn if you qualify to negotiate your $10,000 plus IRS tax debt for up to a 75% savings. Don't be like Al or Vinny and get busted. Make this free call now. Learn how you may be able to pay the IRS less.
Call now. 866-657-8474, 866-657-8474, 866-657-8474, 866-657-8474.
Get your panties all in a bunch.
The Conservative Syndicate.net, exposing weapons of mass distraction. Okay, hey, we're back, and you are listening to the Conservative Syndicate, and we're glad to have you with us today. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos, and we have with us Jonathan Dunn, founder of the Freedom's Disciple website out there in Dublin, Ireland, and, of course, a contributor and worker. I'm going to say employee of The Blaze. Is that a more accurate description there, Jonathan?
No, I'm not an official employee. They own my podcast that I do with them, and then I do a few other things with them as well.
Okay, all right. I'll stick with the contributor then. That sounds more professional.
Absolutely.
Anyways, getting over to the Brexit thing. Ireland is one of the countries that was involved in the Brexit vote, and I'm really curious, given your synopsis earlier about how the politics work in your country. People have very little to say, and it really comes down to a debate between one side of the political aisle to the other. How is this Brexit vote? How has it affected Ireland so far, and is it, what's going on?
Well, it affects two different things, because where I live in Dublin, it's called Southern Ireland, and we didn't actually vote on Brexit because we're not part of it. We're a separate country. It affected the 6 counties up the north, Northern Ireland, because they're part of the United Kingdom. It was a great win for freedom, but it's, as I feared, it's dissolved into a farce, into an incredible spectacle, and it hasn't been. It was only a blip on the radar. When it happened, it was an incredible win because the sands and the momentum was on stay. You know as well as I do, if you're around politics long enough, to change course takes a lot of work. To stay on the status quo is just what people will do. When you look at the actual vote up in the lead up to it, all the horrific things that happened, there was no one with major credibility on the Leave side. It was on the Stay side, you had the Prime Minister and you had the leader of the opposition and you had the media. And they spun their yarns, they spun all the lies, they gave all these great statements that said, if you leave Europe, you're going to lose 950,000 jobs and everybody's pay packet's going to go down by about £30 a week, which is about $50. Then you had that horrific, the Labour lady, the MP, shot. And all of that, and then all the polls said it's going to stay. It was so bad. I have some contacts inside different places because I used to be involved in politics at different levels, and I send a text to a few of my friends, and I go in different places going, hey, should I stay up and listen to the recount and listen to the vote because it might be good news or we might win, or should I go to bed? And I got a text back straight away. I'd go to bed if I were you. So I was like, okay, if you're going to send me that text back that quickly, it's going to be a landslide. They're staying. Wake up the next morning and they've voted to leave, and it wasn't even close. It was incredible. But the problem is, all that happened was it went from big government, whether you want to call it Marxism, socialism, progressivism, or if you want to go all the way back to the oldest terms, Aristotle and statism. It went from big government statism run by Europe to big government statism run by the members of parliament in the United Kingdom. That is all that changed. All that changed was the people in Britain now have a British person ruling over them and telling them what they can do rather than a European person. That is the only change. And it's incredibly frustrating to actually see what they've done, because I don't know how closely you follow this, but when the whole debate came and the debate was won and the people voted, well, it went to the High Court in the United Kingdom, and they said, actually, you know what? Before you can trigger Article 50, which is what you trigger in the British Constitution to leave Brexit, you actually have to have a vote in Parliament. So technically, the members of Parliament could go, yeah, you know what? The British people, yeah, they had their vote, and that's a really nice thing, but you're wrong. We're staying. I don't think that's going to happen, but that's been a lot of the debates over the last couple of months. And just the timescale, if you think of a political campaign, they have been run dreadfully. It came out and said they weren't going to trigger till 2020, then it was 2018, now we're going to trigger it by March. They have no idea what they're doing. And it's incredibly to watch, because Tony Blair is talking about coming back to politics, and that's how bad things are in England. And it's just been so sad, and there has been no voices for freedom. There is no one saying, hey, we didn't like European telling us what to do. Are we okay with a British person telling us what to do? It's just gone back to business as normal. Well, government will decide what we do and what we don't do. And it's incredibly sad.
Let me clarify that. You're telling me that what's happened then is you've just gone from being under the thumb of the European Union to being back under the thumb of England?
Mm-hmm. Well, sorry, not me. Ireland. I get what but Northern Ireland, yeah.
Yeah.
You're just back under, what they stand for. There is no difference. There is very little difference in the policies of Europe and the policies of Theresa May, Jeremy Corbyn, even David Cameron, who was before him. There is no difference. There is no Margaret Thatcher there. And that's the sad part of it. If people go, well, they're conservatives, the Conservative Party have power. That's a good thing, right? If you want to put this into context, the Conservative Party today in Britain would probably at best be the Labour Party under Thatcher. They are for big government. They are big status. They believe in absolutely everything. They've just passed the sugar tax. Is there anyone that can say to me, yeah, well, that's a conservative platform, limited government. Let's just, let's put sugar tax on sugar, so that because we have an obesity crisis.
Wow, that really fascinates me, because I was under the illusion, I guess, that Northern Ireland, when Brexit came about, that they would be forming their own government.
Well, they have their own assembly up in Northern Ireland, and as the Welsh do in Wales and the Scottish do in Scotland. What happened? Sorry?
Yeah, go ahead.
So what happened then effectively was, right after that happened, it was very, if you want to break it down into countries, it was Wales and Southern England that said, we want to leave. And it was in Scotland and Northern Ireland who voted incredibly high in numbers that they wanted to stay. So what happened was, the minute, because Scotland had a referendum, I think it was about a year or 18 months ago, I'm dreadful on timings, I apologise, and the minute Brexit happened and the vote came in, the head of Scotland, Nicola Sturgeon, she's like the Prime Minister, or your version of the Speaker of the House, she's very powerful in Scotland, said, we're going to now work to get Scotland independence. And I always find this funny. So just think the logic of this, right? You've had this vote, you're now leaving, you've left the European Union, or you voted to leave the European Union, and the Scottish MP, Nicola Sturgeon, and the Irish Northern Ireland people said, what we want to do is we want to have this vote to leave England. We want to be free from England. And when we get that freedom, the first thing we want to do is run to Europe and then go under European rule again. So we're going to fight for freedom in one part, and then the first act, as a free people, we're going to give our sovereignty away again. And that sells.
I don't know. That doesn't sound too much unlike the Democrat Party over here. I mean, the logic.
The way it goes.
Yeah, the logic and the thinking behind it. The snake eating its own tail kind of thing. That's where I was kind of confused. You just cleared up so much for me, because I was in the British Isles a week before Brexit, and we went around. And we went from Southampton up to Cork to Dublin, up to Belfast, over to Scotland and Wales, and came back down the other side. And everywhere I went, I talked to people about this. What do you see? And the thing about it was, the general opinion I was getting from everybody was that everything was going to stay the same. They weren't going to pull out of Brexit, and it's kind of like watching Donald Trump over here. Hillary's going to walk away with this thing, and all of a sudden they wake up one morning and wait a minute, just the opposite happened. And I didn't really understand how everything was going to work out. So you're telling me basically that Scotland and Northern Ireland are really under English rule?
Yes.
Okay.
They have. It's not the exact same. What it will be like is they have certain controls that your state government would have, and they control different things like the local environment, and they have a budget that they have to keep into. They get a certain allotment of money, each of them, to run, and then they run their state the same way. They don't have. It's different in that the state in America, has its right to, if it wants to increase things and do more stuff, it has a sales tax it can increase. Over here we don't. They're given an allotment of money, and then they have the freedom to say, well, we want to spend more money on roads this year rather than something else. And then the main facilities are run in Westminster.
Okay.
But the thing is, they just wanted out of it, and it's just incredible. And one of the things that was really troubling was some of the arguments. Watching some of the arguments unfold post-Brexit, I always love just sitting back and watching other people debate. So, if you listen to the mantra of the left, the socialist, the statist, they care about the little guy, and they hate the rich.
Yeah.
All those millionaires and billionaires.
Yeah.
The fear-mongering post-Brexit, they only could talk about two things. Oh my God, have you seen the stock market lately? The stock market went down another 100 points. I'm kind of going, I thought you're for the little guy, and you hate the millionaires and billionaires. Logic would say you want the stock market to go down because they are the millionaires and billionaires. And the other thing was the exchange rate between the pound and the dollar. Now that does have some effect on the smaller people, but that was the only things they were caring about. They only cared about economics. And that was the sad thing. And even on the right, the people who wanted to leave, it wasn't about individual freedoms. It wasn't about one of the oldest laws and most agreed upon, whether you're left or right traditionally in the world. You agreed on one thing, state sovereignty. It's one of the oldest accepted laws and norms in the world. No one talked about that. No one talked about you're sovereign in yourself. You're sovereign as a nation. And it's just incredible. But one of the troubling things after it was, and it was pure sick, it's just the vision is incredible over here, because I actually have an aunt who lives over in England, and she's elderly. She's in her 70s now, I think. And the arguments were, you old people, you voted to leave. You hate us. You are so selfish. You're only going to live for another 5 or 10 years. I have 50 years to live in this country. You stole an opportunity from me. You should die and rot in hell. The arguments on the media towards old people were incredible.
Wow.
And the reason the older people, and this started around maybe the 40, 50-year-olds, was they actually voted to join the European Union. And there was several interviews when you watched them saying, I voted to join the European Union because the European Union was supposed to do A, B, and C and then stop. It didn't stop at C. It went D, E, F, and went through the alphabet several times over. Just to give you some examples, the most famous, it's not the most famous, but it's the most ridiculous. There was a European law, wait till you hear this, a European law that regulated the length of the high heels a lady could wear in the hairdressers as a worker.
Well, didn't they regulate or try to regulate the curvature of bananas?
Oh, they tried to do everything. Get the old. I don't know what's. I was dreadful at maths. The geometry sets. Get the old geometry sets out there and see. They will do anything. Because at the end of the day, they're there to create more jobs and for themselves and create more rules and regulations. And eventually you have to do stupid things. And that's just the way it goes. If you're sitting in Europe and your biggest issue is the length of a high heel of a lady working in a hairdresser's, I think the world is a very safe place. I think you can come home.
What a great analogy, and it definitely illustrates how socialism ends up eating its own young. That's amazing. Hey, we got to go to a quick break here. We got our quick break session here. We've got Jonathan Dunn from Freedom's Disciple, and we'll be right back with us. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. There is an old saying, children should be seen but not heard. At no time is this more apparent than when politicians speak. TheConservativeSyndicate.net, the adults in the room. Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live Daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decisions concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did. History affirms a vibrant civil society thrives on freedom of conscience, religion, and choice. Any society absent these qualities stifles individual responsibility and accountability, thus enslaving its people by denying them their potential for goodness, creativity, and altruism. To that extent, oppression, coercion, and totalitarianism are multiplied exponentially. To counter such outcomes, the American Freedom Alliance was formed. The AFA is a nonpartisan, non-aligned movement which promotes, defends, and upholds Western values and ideals. The Alliance strives to build an international coalition of citizens of the West who together promote and protect moral values, democracy, and freedom. To find out more and become part of this valuable asset in the preservation of freedom and all its rewards, contact us at AmericanFreedomAlliance.org. That's AmericanFreedomAlliance.org. Let freedom ring.
Don't get your panties all in a bunch.
The ConservativeSyndicate.net, exposing weapons of mass distraction. All right, folks. Hey, we're back. We're back, and this is the Conservative Syndicate. You want to visit our website, theconservativesyndicate.net, if you want to pick up this show. Great show to listen to again. And any of our shows, any of our archives, want to find out what why we do what we do, and the people involved in it. And we've got with us Jonathan Dunn here. We've got just a few minutes left with him. And Joe, you got something you wanted to hit on?
Yeah, you guys were talking before about when the American Revolution started, and Jonathan or one of you said that the Mayflower. Remember the Mayflower? Why did they come here to begin with? It was to freely practice their religion. That's the reason why they came over here to begin with. And so, exactly. But one of the things that and Jonathan's hitting on pretty good here. Freedom takes work.
Yeah,
and it sounds like a lot of people don't really want to put the time and effort to be free.
Well, you made one point earlier, Jonathan, and maybe ask you to reiterate it again about the fact that right after Brexit, there was you felt great that there was this great momentum for freedom. And we were just talking the other night about Trump, about how fast he has to move because he'll lose momentum once the establishment over here gets a chance to catch their breath and figure out how to scheme against them. And can you just reiterate that for us? Are you saying that most of the momentum that Brexit had behind it is just kind of floundered out there and dissipated?
Yeah, pretty much. But the momentum was just because they won. The thing about the difference between America and the rest of the world historically is it all goes back to your Declaration of Independence, the way you set up. If you walk down any street, whether it's in Ireland, whether it's in England, or whether it's where you are in California, walk down the street and talk to anyone who you don't know and go, hey, what do you not like? They'll tell you, they'll talk all day long of the things they don't like. Right now in England, you can different people voted for different reasons, but it was they just didn't like the way things were going. It's easy to be against something. Your Declaration of Independence, your founders were so incredible because they did one thing that very few people do. They said, listen, I got loads of usurpations against that king. I got 27 of them, in fact. But I don't want to talk to you about just that for a minute. I first want to tell you what I'm for. I am for that all men are created equal. I am for rights come from God. I am for life, liberty, and property, or life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That is what they are for. And then it went to, this is what I have. These are the problems I have with the king. And itemizing them out by out. The thing about freedom is you have to understand what it's for. You have to have those discussions. You have to share those voices. The problem right now is everyone in the world is saying what we're doing isn't working. And everyone in certain people in certain countries, there's been votes in Austria, in Italy, Brexit was part of it. Everyone is great at telling you, we all know the system doesn't work. But not very few people are coming up and speaking out and saying, well, this is the system that works. Because if you just tear down a system, all it does is create a vacuum. And nature abhors vacuums. And what will happen is you either have a choice when that vacuum appears that you step in then, who, if you're a freedom-loving person, say, this is exactly what we are for. The First Amendment, the right to free speech, the right to freedom of religion, the right to petition your government, the right to a free press, and the right to have public assembly. The Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. The Fourth Amendment, the right to be secure in your person and your papers. The 10th Amendment, the right to have states' rights. The Fifth Amendment, the right not to incriminate yourself. These are the rights you are for. We need to put those platforms forward. Because what will happen if, and it's time and time again has happened in Ireland and England, Europe and the rest of the world, the minute you get that chance for change, what will happen is if you don't speak out for freedom, the left will just come out, and or the right in European terms, will come out and say, well, do you know, I agree with you, the system wasn't working, but here's the problem. We just didn't hire the right people. Right. Or we just didn't spend enough money. Or you know what the real problem was? We just didn't go far enough. We didn't set ourselves up for success. And then they'll continue growing governments. You know, the old saying Reagan used to always say, the more the plans fail, the more the planners plan. No one ever has a period of self-reflection going, gee, we had this policy. It's not that it's no one can debate it didn't work, but should government have done that in the first place?
Yeah.
We never have that. It's always more money, more people, or new people.
Yeah, and that's the narrative that's being put out there right now as Obama runs damage control on his legacy. It's that it isn't that his socialism or his Marxism didn't work. It's that people just didn't want to go along with it. He has the plan. It's just that everybody else screwed it up by not just giving him free rein and letting him govern by decree. We are out of time, Jonathan, and I wanted to give you a moment here to plug your website and everything else that you're doing.
No, thank you very much. But I do believe he did have a pen and a phone, so he had that sorted. Listen, thank you so much for having me. And the best place to find me is on social media, Freedom's Disciple, on Twitter, Facebook, or if you go to freedomsdisciple.com, you'll find all my writings. You'll find my podcast on The Blaze. They come out every Saturday at noon Eastern, and they're free, SoundCloud, iTunes, and Google Play. So thank you so much for having me, gents. Keep fighting for freedom, and please, if nothing else, continue to tell your audience what you're for. Tell them what you're for as well as what you're against.
Yeah, we definitely try to do that because it does get tiring just listening to the problems. We try to offer solutions. We thank you so much, my friend. God bless you, and we're definitely going to have you back on, so you take care.
God bless you.
All right. Okay, guys, that was Jonathan Dunn from Freedom's Disciple. Works over there at the Glenn Beck and the Blaze, does podcasts and everything else over there. You can check him out, Freedom's Disciple. Go to his website, freedomsdisciple.com, or you can find him on Facebook. We got to go to top of the hour here. Edward's Notebook, pay some bills, and we'll be back with more next hour. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate.
America the Beautiful is already benefiting from the Trump effect. Hello, I'm Ron Edwards. On today's page from the Edwards Notebook, after 8 dark years of economic misery, the United States economy is starting to show visible signs of life. Pro-American Donald Trump is still waiting in the wings before stepping into his elected role as President of these United States. But amazingly, he already has done more before taking the oath of office to invigorate the U.S. economy than outgoing progressive President Obama did over the past 80 years as the leader from behind president. Because Donald Trump took the time to reach out to Bill Ford, the Ford Motor Company has modified plans to ship auto production to Mexico, and thus jobs will be spared in Michigan. Air conditioning manufacturer Carrier of Indiana will now not be pulling up stakes and moving their headquarters to Mexico. With the promise of reducing America's burdensome corporate tax rate and abusive regulations, the legendary U.S. economy is once again poised to take off. By God's grace, good days are dawning upon our republic.
Happy days are here again.
Don't blow it this time, America. I'm Ron Edwards.
A healthy attitude toward politics will always be relentlessly cynical. The Conservative Syndicate.net, doing our part to keep America healthy.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right, General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. Term life insurance. It can be a powerful way to protect your assets and your family. You work hard to earn and save your money to build a nest egg for the future. Don't let it get wiped out because you didn't plan ahead. Take the time now and make a small investment in $500,000 or more in quality term life insurance. Call the Term Lifeline and let us shop the best companies to give you the lowest rates. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. Ask about some of our 10 and 20-year fixed rate plans with guaranteed rates. Call the Term Lifeline right now for your free insurance quote. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609. You owe it to yourself to protect your family and your assets. Make term life insurance part of that plan. Call the Term Lifeline right now. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live Daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decisions concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
Hey, all you can do is just tell the truth and trust in the American people that over time they're going to know what the truth is.
Yes, it is time for the truth. right here, right now. This is the Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives. With your host, John Matthews.
The latter-day prophet. Saying against the hypocrisies of our time.
And Joe Hakos.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
The Conservative Syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together, we seek to tear down the imaginary wall, a separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your hosts on the globally syndicated Conservative Syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Hakos.
Okay, hey, we're back. Hour 2 right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos. And I hope you enjoyed that interview with Jonathan Dunn the first hour. Something he said here just really hit home with me. And I want to just kind of reiterate it here because it'll help us lead into our next segment here, what we're going to talk about just for a few moments here. This is our short segment here. We have a break coming up in just a few minutes here, and then we'll get into the longer segments. But the idea here, that one of the things that Jonathan expressed was he was telling us how pretty much the enthusiasm and the positive vibes that came out of the Brexit vote last year has kind of dissipated, at least from what he's seeing out there. And you remember we had Scott Faulkner on, and he was talking earlier. It was, let's see, was that Monday? Did we have Scott on Monday, Joe?
It was Monday. And he basically said time is the enemy of this movement, if you want to call it
revolution. I think it was time is the enemy of revolution. Is that what he said?
That too.
Yeah, because he was emphasizing to us that Trump needed to move fast, he needed to move quick, and we know that that's got to be what's in Trump's mind because he is building a transition. His team is one of the fastest so far being assembled, I think, since Reagan. They're making comparisons to how fast Reagan had his people in place compared to some of the other past presidents that are out there, and that's something I'm going to emphasize here in just a moment. But what Jonathan was telling us is that my point being is that people knew what was wrong. They knew that something had to happen, and they were willing to go to the polls and make it happen, but nobody really had an answer. And that's really what we have in this country. That's what created the vacuum that allowed liberalism and progressivism to come into being and be such an effective force for their agenda. I always equate it back to the days when I personally, this is just my own personal perspective here, I put it back on the days when we decided to remove God from the schools. And what happened was the right, the conservatives of the country, remained quiet about it. The church remained complicit about it. Nobody thought it was really that big of a deal, and they let the leftists have their way. And that began to create the vacuum. And I've used these examples. Divorce became illegal after that. Remember, it used to be in this country, divorce was illegal. Okay, you couldn't get divorced. I think the only way you could get a divorce is adultery. But then, and I've even pointed out the contrast. California was the last state to legalize divorce, but it was also the first state to legalize abortion. And so you can see how this evolution came about from the removal of God from the political narrative and thinking about what God would want as a sovereign creator of this nation in making your political decisions. And obviously, the godless were able to advance at the expense of the God-fearing, because the God-fearing became man-fearing. And so what happened was this vacuum was created. Progressives were more than willing to step in and say, hey, we can help it. We can make things easier for you. You know, everything from Social Security to Medicare to Medi-Cal to food stamps to free college or government-subsidized college, some government's loans, and the whole 9 yards. And look where we're at today. Now we're battling for our individual freedom, our ability to make decisions, to keep our plan if we want to, and to keep our doctor if we want to, and to drive the cars that we want to, and use the damn light bulbs that we want to use. that kind of thing. And so we're fighting against this massive tide that has been building up here over the last 50, 60 years. And the problem is that nobody on the right, the Republican Party, they were able to tell us what was wrong with the country, but they had no answer and no solution and no desire to implement anything to stop it. Donald Trump comes along and says, I got a plan. And he's implementing that plan. And what's pissing everybody off is he's not really telling anybody how he's going to do it. He's just saying, I'm going to do it. And he's doing it. But the left is pissed off because he's not letting them in on, they're not privy to what his actual agenda is and how he's going to go about doing it.
Well, he's not going to give him a chance to go ahead and criticize it before he implements anything.
Yeah, and they're trying to do it anyways. And so they're criticizing that he won't let him in, but even if he did let him in, they'd be criticizing him for that. So, this guy's going to be operating an administration with a complete and total catch-22. He's going to be damned if he does and damned if he doesn't. But I'm just hoping that he just decides, you know what, I don't give a damn what you people think. You're the problem. I'm here because of you. And so, therefore, why do we care what Nancy Pelosi thinks or what Hillary Clinton thinks or what Barack Obama thinks? These are the guys that created the problem. But he's got a solution, and that's the key here. If he can come out at some point in time, Trump is going to stand before the American people, and he is going to lay out his plan. This is what I'm going to do, and this is how I'm going to do it. But he during the debates, he said this often. Why would I tell my enemy what I'm going to do?
Absolutely. And that's what he needs to keep in mind, that these people are some of these people that he's bringing up, like Al Gore, he's bringing up to the Trump Tower and having a discussion with him. These people are not his friend.
No.
Always remember that.
But you got to think. Don't you think maybe the strategy is, let me sit these people down, give them a cocktail, stroke their hair, make them think that I like them, and let them tell me what they think they're going to do. Maybe he's doing it just to get. Maybe it's like counterintelligence. I'm going to act like your friend so that you tell me what it is I need to know, so I know what to do to stop you. That I've started to think that way. I mean, why would you have Rahm Emanuel and Al Gore come to your place of business and sit down and talk about your issues? What's that other guy's name? Leonardo Capri, the actor guy. Why don't you just ask Sean Penn to come talk about foreign policy? It's like, and I'm just thinking in the back of my mind, maybe he's just playing these people. Hey, let me tell you tell me what you think is going on, and therefore I'll know what I have to watch for when I start implementing my plan. That's what I'm kind of thinking. I'm hoping that's what it is. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, hey, I'm sorry. You got something to say?
No. That's I hope it's a head fake. I really do. The guy's not stupid.
Yeah.
And could be a billionaire being stupid.
I can't believe he run a campaign against all these people that he's now sitting down and talking to. It just doesn't make any sense. Anyway, we got to go to break. When we come back, we'll get into a further on this discussion. I have an article here. I'm going to read you the entire article because it's not that long, but it definitely is going to drive home the point we're just trying to make here. So stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. We'll be right back.
A healthy attitude toward politics will always be relentlessly cynical. TheConservativeSyndicate.net, doing our part to keep America healthy.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-790-5960. That's 1-800-790-5960. Again, 1-800-790-5960. Call now. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live Daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decisions concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Attention taxpayers. If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. When you call, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you have been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately. Call this special tax hotline today for free info at 1-866-761-0959. That's 1-866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959.
Get your panties all in a bunch.
The Conservative Syndicate.net, exposing weapons of mass distraction. All right, guys, we're back, and this is the Conservative Syndicate, and I am your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos. I want to get into this, kind of move further into the segment that we started here at the top of the hour, talking about how the vacuums are created and everything else, but it kind of lines up with what's going on in the media right now. It's just watching the media per se. We're not really hearing too much out of the leftist operatives. I think I don't know if they're still shell-shocked or they're locked in a dark room somewhere trying to figure out how to countermand what's taking place right now. Or maybe they're just, I don't know, maybe they're just all sitting around drunk. I don't know what's going on with them, but the media certainly is out there trying to continue to try to fit Trump into their little template as to how things are supposed to happen here. And I've got this article here from Vox, Ezra Klein, the great Ezra Klein, leftist operative par none out there. And but this article is written by Matthew Iglesias, and it's published on Vox, which is Ezra Klein's blog or his website. Completely one of the best leftist rags out there. And I say best because it is so leftist. If you're going to talk about leftist rags, you should think about Vox. Not Fox, Vox. Okay? Vox with a V, not Fox with an F. All right. Now, okay. I know some of you college grads and you people out there that practice ebonics, might think I'm talking about something else. So I want to clarify that. Donald Trump is running the least popular transition in decades. Now, this is a very short article. I'm going to read you the whole thing, but it's just packed. It's packed with leftist nuggets. And you just have to be able to understand what's actually being said here. Donald Trump is not the first recent president to win the election while losing the popular vote. There's your start line.
There's the first one.
Okay. And even though Bill Clinton did win the popular vote in 1992, he did so with a very small share of the overall vote thanks to Ross Perot's strong performance. You remember Ross Perot was the independent candidate and took away votes from the Republicans. But Trump manages to be considerably less popular than any other recent president-elect in terms of both his conduct during the transition phase and the public's view of his cabinet choices. Now, let's take that first paragraph. All right? What they're trying to tell us is Donald Trump is not a popular candidate, and he's not a popular president-elect. Then how in the hell did he win? Yeah, let's ask ourselves some basic questions with these pseudo-intellectual little summaries that are being launched out there. If Donald Trump is not popular, and if people are not pleased, how did he win? That's the $64 question. If he's not presidential, if he's not everything that the leftists say within their template a politician should be, and what a president should be, temperament, attitude, views, ideology, lack of ideology, whatever. How did he manage to pull this off? How did he win? And it wasn't because Russia hacked the DNC. Okay? He won because everything that the template people want, the establishment, the elitists, and the media want, the people don't want. So when you hear them talk about this, he's the least popular. He's not doing the job the way everybody else should be. It's not the way a president should be running, doing what he's doing. You know, they're out there bashing him because he's out there on a thank you tour. Well, what did Obama do when he got elected? He went on a worldwide apology tour. So what's the difference? The difference is he's talking about things that they're very uncomfortable about him talking about, because with Barack Obama, everybody thought, hey, this is a slam dunk. Progressivism is the new thing. Progressivism is the new government, all right? And now it's all been blown to hell. And it's been blown to hell in a big way because this election repudiated everything the leftists thought they had accomplished. It destroyed, or will destroy before it's over, Barack Obama's quote-unquote legacy.
Yay.
Okay, because everybody's going to see just what a moron this guy is, and what just an ideologue he was, and basically what an asshat he is as a person. All right, so but the point being is they're trying to create, there's going to be several narratives that the left is going to continue to try to beat us over the head with for the next 4 years. And the most one, probably the most used one will be that he isn't presidential. They're going to stick to that campaign mantra that he's not presidential. He doesn't have the temperament. He doesn't have the insight. He doesn't have the knowledge. He doesn't have anything that a president actually needs. Well, he's got one thing that Hillary Clinton doesn't have, the votes. He won.
Yeah.
Okay? And if I can coin Barack Obama's phrase, when John McCain attacked him, he said, hey, the election's over. I won. So basically, we should be telling the left, hey, you lost. Shut up. Suck it up. Regroup. Figure something out. And they're just going to continue to beat the same old drum. It's just going to, and they're just, they are so locked into their thinking, they don't see the forest for the trees. So this article goes on to say Trump manages to be considerably less popular than any other recent president-elect. The emphasis being president-elect. Okay, he's not in office right now, but how could the guy be so unpopular and still manage to win, and win big? He didn't win small, he won big. Okay, whether you like it or not, he won big. So they try to give you this Pew survey is out there, according to a new poll out from Pew Center that shows Trump drastically underperforming Barack Obama, George W. Bush, Bill Clinton, and George H.W. Bush. We're talking about the elitist establishment. What do you call it? What's the word for four people? 4 people. There's a word for that. Like you have 4 people in a music group or something like that. It's not like a duet, trio,
quartet.
Huh?
A quartet.
Quartet. There you go. the quartet: Barack Obama, George W. Bush, Bill Clinton, and George H.W. Bush. Notice who's not in this list: Ronald Reagan. Okay, and why is that? Because Ronald Reagan did the same thing Trump did. He had a very fast transition. He had his team in place when he stepped into office. He had very little opposition getting these people confirmed that he had chosen. Now, I don't know how that's going to play out with Donald Trump, but the point being, Trump's transition, even the leftist media has to admit, he is putting together his team faster than any other president since Ronald Reagan. All right, so I don't know how do you define drastically underperforming when the guy hasn't stepped into the White House yet. I don't get that. So it has to fit something. It's that he's choosing people that they don't like. There it is. That's what it is, because they go on to say, combine Trump's low ratings with the fact that the GOP lost seats in both the House and the Senate.
Where?
Okay. Yeah, they lost, 4 seats in the House and 1 seat in the Senate or something? Okay. All right. So, and those people, believe it or not, those people that lost were rhinos.
Yes, those are the ones that went against Trump.
Yeah, they were the ones that that were trying to, what's her name? Susan Collins up there. Trying to play both sides of the fence. And the people picked up on it and said, hey, we don't want you around. You can't even make your mind up who you like and who you don't like. The Senate seats were lost. I think she was one of them, maybe one other one. They didn't lose a whole bunch. And they had some to lose, for crying out loud, because they kicked the Democrats' ass back in 2010.
And they still retained control of both houses.
Yeah, and a solid majority in the House, and still retained the majority in the Senate. All right?
So it sounds like they're kind of whining about it, and they don't like it, which tells me one thing, John.
I'm glad you used that phrase, because I was good. That's what I was hearing as I'm reading this thing. That's why I'm reading the whole article. This is just one big whine piece. Whine. He's underperforming. He's unpopular. No, the guy won. He won because of his popularity. He is a populist. He's not a conservative. He is not a liberal. He's not any of those things. He's a pragmatic populist. And he's not in this for the politics. One thing I picked up on this guy, it's not about the politics. It's about getting something done. Period.
Yeah.
Why? If he was worried about the politics, he wouldn't entertain somebody like a Mitt Romney or Rahm Emanuel and Al Gore.
If he was worried about the politics, he would have never won.
Yeah. He just came out there and said, no, this is about one thing and one thing only, getting this country back on track.
Because how many times did we hear, his campaign's done for. He said something in a tweet that offended somebody. Yeah. Oh, that's it. It's over. It's done. He's history.
Yeah. How many times did we hear the media say the beginning of the end for Donald Trump? The beginning of the end. Okay. All right. Let's go on here. Combine Trump's low ratings with the fact that the GOP lost seats in both the House and the Senate, and the Republican Party is basically limping into office in terms of public opinion. Okay, well, that may be true. The GOP has a very low approval rating, but that doesn't matter. It wasn't about the Republican GOP. This is about Donald Trump. And if we're going to talk about limping, hey, the Democrats are on life support. Okay?
Yeah.
And despite all of that, they are situated to enact sweeping change on a much larger scale than anyone else on the list, except perhaps Obama. See, there's the rub. There's the rub. Trump can pull off something even more dramatic than Barack Obama. Trump can truly retransform the United States of America. Okay? And that's what's rubbing them the wrong way. Obama was the agent of change. He was going to bring about that fundamental transformation of the United States of America. And Trump has stopped it cold in its tracks. Their party holds majorities, meaning the Republicans, in both the House and Senate. And thanks to a very friendly map, we're talking about the Electoral College here,
Very friendly map. Oh my God, John.
Yeah, very friendly map, and that's an off-the-wall reference to the Electoral College. They have little reason to fear losing control in 2018, even if most Americans disapprove of their conduct. How do you equate this stuff? How do you reason this stuff out? They've got the majority. They won big. They got the majority, but nobody likes them. I don't get that. And because you have the majority, you have the power to do everything, even though nobody likes you. All right? Republicans have no illusions about securing Democratic cooperation with their legislative agenda, and thus are prepared to aggressively use the budget reconciliation process to avoid filibusters. Meanwhile, on nomination, Democrats already sharply curtailed senators' ability to filibuster. They're the ones that created their own monster there. So 52 Senate votes will be all the GOP needs to put the Trump team in place. They're not a popular political party, but they won the election, and they have the means and the wherewithal to govern. Public opinion counts for a lot in politics, but institutional dynamics and organizational savvy count for more. It's a big whining piece. We didn't win, and we should have won because nobody likes you guys. Well, nobody likes you either because you lost. Okay? You lost. I would say that the person that wins is liked more than the person that's lost. That seems.
How did Barack Obama put this to John McCain? Elections have consequences.
That's right. And like I said, reiterating Obama's words to McCain, the election's over. I won. All right.
Oh, forgot that part.
All right. So you know what? Buck up, sissy pants, and get ready. Get ready. I want to share with you when we get back here a short conversation I had with a gentleman the other day down at the gym that I go and exercise at. So stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away.
Hey, I'll make you a deal. Give me 60 seconds, and I'll give you directions to the Fountain of Youth. Okay, I'm joking. Well, kind of joking. No fountains, but youth, I got. Nature's Youth and their premier anti-aging product, Nature's Youth RSF. With your sensible diet and exercise plan, Nature's Youth RSF can help you look and feel better. RSF is an all-natural amino acid supplement that supports your body to naturally increase HGH levels without any synthetic hormones. And elevated HGH levels can contribute to increased energy, improved libido, reduced body fat, and improved exercise capacity. Let's be honest. Who doesn't want to look and feel younger? Visit the newly designed website at naturesyouth.com or call 800-333-6923. That's 800-333-6923, and like them on Facebook, and you'll be included in contests and exclusive offers. What a deal. Oh, speaking of deals, my time's about up. 800-333-6923 or naturesyouth.com. Who needs a fountain anyway? Call today.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
When I had a heart attack at 42, I was not sure what the future held. But a year later, the doctors could find nothing wrong with me and took me off all my medication. What did I do? I took a herbal mixture of garlic, cayenne, and a few other herbs mixed in liquid form. I now call this Extendovite. I would have never believed that a few simple herbs could actually change my life like they did. Now it's your turn to see what the powers of garlic and cayenne can do for you. For only $69.95 plus shipping and handling for a 2-month supply of either capsules or liquid, you too can begin on your path to better health. For more information, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822. Or visit our website at heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
I've owned my company for 14 years now, and I can tell you that payroll is a 4-letter word. I hate doing it. It eats up hours I don't have, and it costs me money I could be saving. But my accountant's too expensive, and I'm not sure who to call, but I know I need help.
We're Paychex, and we take all the hassles out of small business payroll. We save you time and money. It's easy. Call, fax, or give us your payroll information securely online, and we take care of the rest. We calculate the correct taxes, manage payments and direct deposits. We even send out your checks. Payroll doesn't need to be a 4-letter word anymore. We're so sure that we can save you time and money that we'll give you a month's payroll free. Just for calling 877-663-3830. Get 1 month's payroll for free. Call Paychex right now. 877-663-3830. That's 877-663-3830.
Hey, I don't back anybody unless I believe in them. And I do believe in the value of investing in gold and silver. And the company I trust to buy my gold and silver from is Swiss America. I've been working with them for nearly a decade. I trust them, and you can too. Swiss America will help you sort through and find the best options available when you're considering investing in gold and silver coins. Listen, for over 30 years, Swiss America has been offering Americans what they want in their investments: safety, liquidity, quality, reliability, and a potential profit. Gold and silver have a place in every investor's portfolio. So, why not let Swiss America help you diversify your investment portfolio now? Call now for free information. 800-978-3907, 800-978-3907, 800-978-3907, 800-978-3907.
Hey, Bugsy, you hear the news about Vinny?
Yeah, it's a real shame he owed money to the IRS and they finally cut up with him.
Just like Al Capone.
If the IRS can get to Capone, imagine what they can do to little old Vinny, huh?
Poor cat, he was on top of the world, then bada boom, bada bing.
What Vinny needs now is an offer he can't refuse.
Hey, you got a tax problem? Does the IRS claim you owe them a bunch of dough? They can get you too. So call the tax relief line now and learn if you qualify to negotiate your $10,000 plus IRS tax debt for up to a 75% savings. Don't be like Al or Vinny and get busted. Make this free call now. Learn how you may be able to pay the IRS less.
Call now. 866-657-8474. 866-657-8474. 866-657-8474. 866-657-8474.
Don't get your panties all in a bunch.
The Conservative Syndicate.net, exposing weapons of mass distraction. Alrighty, we're back. The Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos, and I want to shift gears here. Joe had sent me something earlier today, a segment that took place between Tucker Carlson and Adam Schiff. Is that how we pronounce his last name? Schiff?
Shift, I thought. But anyway, I think he's from California, actually.
Yeah, he is. And I kind of emphasizing Schiff because knowing how my mind works, if I start calling him Schiff, I could actually change that to something else without thinking about it. Just one of my moments of Bushisms or something, and we might have a censor problem here. So anyway.
This is internet radio, so we can probably get away with it for now.
Oh, I know. But, it incites the pseudo-Christians out there that listen to us and want to correct me as to the type of language I should use. I get that all the time. In fact, I actually admit that that's kind of a weakness of mine. I have a tendency to launch into my worldly exclamations sometimes when I'm talking about certain politicians. But I just kind of figure, it's just the way I am right now. And, I wish I was a little bit more, let's say a little less vulgar sometimes, but, it is what it is. Anyway.
Well, it's passionate, John. It's passion.
Yeah, I call it righteous indignation, but everybody else calls it profanity.
Well, yes.
So, anyway, this little piece that took place here between Tucker Carlson and Adam Schiff on his show, and they were talking about the accusation from the left, which is coming, that it's become a certified narrative now, that the Russians are the ones responsible for Donald Trump being elected. And the reason why is because they hacked the DNC servers and they hacked John Podesta's emails and gave it to WikiLeaks. And the whole process is that, even though the stuff was true, it was still not good and still not ethical that it would be brought out in the public eye. It's still not true. And this is basically the gist of the conversation here between Tucker Carlson and Adam Schiff is that Tucker is asking him, is it more important that the public was made aware of what we now know to be the truth in terms of how the Clinton campaign was being run and some of the things that we now know? Or is it more important that this information was hacked? And Schiff keeps coming back to the Russian thing. It's that the idea that we got the Russians interfering in our election process, and that combined with Fox News and some of the other things that are out there. This is the blame. This is why Hillary Clinton lost. She won the popular vote, but she lost the election because of all these vast right-wing conspiracies that are finally effectively were able to stop her from getting into the White House. And the back and forth, what we're going to try to do here, is I'm going to play the entire clip, or try to play the entire clip, but we're going to pause it at certain places. And then we'll just continue it after we make our comments here. So here, starting out, we'll start it out with it, and I'll stop it when I want to. Like I said, Joe, you have a place you want to stop, make a comment, just yell so I know to pause it.
I'll holler out, Joe, and I'll holler out.
All right. Here it is.
That, quote, the Russians, quote, hacked our democracy, and they're mad about it. Joining us now is one of the members who signed that letter, House Intelligence Committee ranking member Adam Schiff of Burbank, California. Congressman, thanks a lot for joining us.
Good to be with you.
So one of the complaints in this letter, which is pretty interesting, is that Russia, and I'm quoting now, hacked our political institutions by, among other things, giving us access to John Podesta's emails in WikiLeaks. Now, I'm against hacking people's personal emails, for sure. I think it's a problem. But no one contests that those emails were real and the information in them was true, and voters got to see that, and it helped them assess how they wanted to vote. Why is that bad? Are you really arguing against more information for voters?
And are you really arguing in favor of a foreign adversarial party hacking into the American...
No, I'm explicitly not. I'm just saying that once information comes into the public view, then why is that bad?
Then if we're in agreement that we shouldn't tolerate foreign countries interfering in our election, hacking and dumping of information, then we shouldn't condone it in any way. Now, are you saying that that we're going to look the other way and we're going to ignore Russian interference because they brought to light the facts that were helpful to one candidate or hurtful to the other or of public interest? The voters had a chance to evaluate that. They made their decision.
Okay, there's the first thing. Now, you notice the emphasis. Tucker's asking him two things. One, do you have evidence and proof that the Russians are the ones that hacked? Two, what's the big deal if what came out is truth? And Schiff is trying to defend the idea that it's more important that we deal with the fact that there was a hacking that took place than what the information was that was hacked. All right, so what he's basically saying is the information is not false, but it shouldn't have been put out there anyways. And because it was put out there through illegal means, hacking into a system, we should basically discredit and discount it and not have allowed it to influence our thinking in terms of who we were going to elect. In other words, yeah, we know everybody was corrupt, and we have evidence that everybody's corrupt, but since we believe that our enemies are the one that put it out there, we should not give it any due credit.
There's no credence in it because it's quote-unquote from the Russians, but he offers no proof to that it was the Russians.
Yeah, and so there's the liberal thinking for you. The ends justifies the means. That's what he's basically saying here. Because the Russians, we believe that the Russians hacked into the system, and that was handed over to the people that hacked into it were organized by the Russian government or funded by the Russian government or given authority by the Russian government to do this. It ends up in the hands of Julie Assange up there at WikiLeaks. And just because it was done illegally, we should not give any credence to the fact that what was released was true. There's your liberal thinking. The ends justifies the means. Yeah, everything is true. We're corrupt. We cheat. We skew. We lie. We deceive. But because it was all that information is given to the public illegally, we should just kind of discount it. It's more important that the Russians were hacking the system, but we don't have any proof they did it. We just believe they did.
Now, wait for the next part of this, John. It's a classic line from these people.
Yeah. So let's continue here. Here we go.
But if we're going to protect ourselves from further Russian meddling in the future, we're going to have to call them out on it. We're going to have to inform the American people about it. And Donald Trump may have been the beneficiary, and I think he certainly was, of the Russian meddling this time. But when President-elect Trump has to cross Putin, as invariably he will, because Putin is not our friend. The president-elect may think Putin is our friend, but he's not. Then he may be the subject of the same interference.
I get it. Nobody's for hacking. Let me just make one clear point. You don't know that Vladimir Putin was behind those hacks.
Well, we do know this, and I can say this.
But you don't know that, and so let's not pretend that you do.
Well, let's not ignore what the Secretary of Homeland Security and the Director of National Intelligence said publicly, which is that these hacks were of such seriousness they could not have taken place without the approval at the highest levels of the Kremlin.
That's speculation, and we've seen a lot. Well, it is speculation. That's
it is not speculation. You can only say speculation.
It's a statement of fact?
It is a statement of the intelligence community's best assessment,
okay.
and you can quarrel with that because there's a political reason to do it, but this is what the intelligence professionals are saying.
Well, they've told us a lot. You know, I've lived here a long time. I remember vividly the massive stockpiles of WMD in Iraq, which the intelligence community assured us were there, and they weren't. So, pardon me for my skepticism. I think it's a patriotic position. But let me just say this: we know,
Tucker. Let me just say this: you don't have to take my word for it. You don't have to take.
I've been following, but here's what I don't get: there's been a lot of hacking.
The Republican members of
I
the
get
intelligence
it, but
committee.
here we've had hacking
think this is in dispute.
of the Pentagon, the White House, the State Department, the CIA director's personal email was hacked. We think in some cases by Russia. I don't remember you holding a press conference and saying, hey, Obama administration, your cybersecurity is pathetic. In this letter to the president, you don't mention the fact that American cybersecurity is inadequate, that the administration is partly responsible for.
There you go. Very good point there. We know that there was an admission from the White House that there were agencies within the bureaucracy of the government that were hacked, and they know that they were hacked by the Russians. Am I correct there, Joe?
Yeah, well, supposedly they know, but they've never, ever offer proof.
Yeah, right. But the point being,
they just say it, John. They say it, and then it's like, okay, we said it, so it must be true.
Yeah, and that here's that you've just hit on the nail on the head here. This is the first point we really want to drive home. This is how liberals operate. You start out with a suggestion. When this news came to front, I remember the first day it happened, the first day it was reported. Within 48 hours, Nancy Pelosi was out there telling everybody that we should really be aware of the fact that perhaps this hacking took place by a foreign entity. And so I hope that the Republicans don't choose to take the information released as being real and truthful, because the fact that the Russians hacked us, or somebody might have hacked us from a foreign entity, they could manipulate the information that's being put out there, and they could, using false information and false allegations, they could paint a picture that isn't actually true. I remember her talking about that. So that there we went from possible hacking and misinformation being disseminated, meaning manipulating the emails to say something that they actually didn't, to, we have a probable belief, to the these defense officials, James Clapper and Jay Johnson, coming out and saying, we believe that it could have been the Russians, to we believe that it was the Russians, to absolutely it was the Russians, and still never offering a bit of evidence or proof that that was the case. So with liberals, what it is we say it long enough, Alinsky rule, right? Number 9, Alinsky rule number 9. You lie long enough until it punches through and becomes the truth. This is typical Alinsky tactics. We need to demonize somebody. We can't demonize Trump on this because we don't know.
And do you really think Schiff is worried about Donald Trump and how he's going to handle Vladimir Putin when he has to go against Vladimir Putin someday because emails were leaked out? And what's Trump going to say? Hey, thanks for helping me out with those emails. Are you kidding me? There's no proof that he did it.
Yeah, well, it's like even Trump, you would think the accusations went as far as saying that Trump had a secret email account that the Russians were using through a bank that Trump was secretly trying to make some kind of deal with. I mean, that's how far it went. Okay, but nobody ever could prove that either. So it fell back on the Russians. We went from the Russians. It may have been a foreign entity to it may have been the Russians till it probably was the Russians until, now it is the Russians. Absolutely, unequivocally. And these, as we mentioned on this show before, these two defense officials are what? James Clapper from the NSA, a liberal hack. Jay Johnson, a liberal hack, telling us absolutely, without shadow of doubt, we know. We don't have any evidence as that goes on further here. Let's see if we can get, we got to go to a break here. We went over time here. Let's go to our quick break. We'll come back. And you'll listen to Schiff try to continue to justify this in the face of a lack of evidence. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. We'll be right back. There is an old saying, children should be seen but not heard. At no time is this more apparent than when politicians speak. TheConservativeSyndicate.net, the adults in the room. Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live Daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decisions concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did. History affirms a vibrant civil society thrives on freedom of conscience, religion, and choice. Any society absent these qualities stifles individual responsibility and accountability, thus enslaving its people by denying them their potential for goodness, creativity, and altruism. To that extent, oppression, coercion, and totalitarianism are multiplied exponentially. To counter such outcomes, the American Freedom Alliance was formed. The AFA is a nonpartisan, non-aligned movement which promotes, defends, and upholds Western values and ideals. The Alliance strives to build an international coalition of citizens of the West who together promote and protect moral values, democracy, and freedom. To find out more and become part of this valuable asset in the preservation of freedom and all its rewards, contact us at AmericanFreedomAlliance.org. That's AmericanFreedomAlliance.org. Let freedom ring.
Get your panties all in a bunch.
TheConservativeSyndicate.net, exposing weapons of mass distraction. Okay, hey, we're back. The Conservative Syndicate. Once again, a quick reminder, catch us at our website, TheConservativeSyndicate.net, and catch our shows. Find out what you want to know about the show there. ConservativeSyndicate.net. TheConservativeSyndicate.net. We're talking about the interview that took place between Tucker Carlson and California Representative Adam Schiff. And we're going to continue this right now. Another, just exemplary example of liberal doublespeak and idiocy, all wrapped up in one.
Say that, quote, the Russians, quote, hacked our democracy and their immunity assured us we're there, and they weren't. So, pardon me for my skepticism. I think it's a patriotic position. But let me just say this. We know...
Tucker, let me just say this. You don't have to take my word for it. You don't have to take
I've been following, but here's what I don't get. There's been a lot of hacking.
The Republican members of
I
the
get
Intelligence
it, but
Committee.
here we've had hacking
this is in dispute.
of the Pentagon, the White House, the State Department. The CIA director's personal email was hacked. We think in some cases by Russia. I don't remember you holding a press conference and saying, hey, Obama administration, your cybersecurity is pathetic. In this letter to the president, you don't mention the fact that American cybersecurity is inadequate, that the administration is partly responsible for allowing these hacks to happen. Why don't you mention that?
You haven't been watching the opening hearings. I don't think you have, because if you had, you would see me pressing the administration on the failures to protect our data, like the OPM hack, taking issue with the level of our cyber protection, which is wholly inadequate. You wouldn't see the statements I made in connection with the intelligence authorization.
Then why not mention it in this letter?
Because this letter was about Russian meddling. And if you don't think that's significant, that a power that is an adversary of ours, that's bombing civilians in Syria right now, that's invading its neighbors, is also interfering in our political processes as well as our allies.
But
if you don't think that's serious, it's hard for me to imagine you were in the same party as Ronald Reagan.
I'm confused by what you're alleging. So you're saying that you believe the Russian government hacked John Podesta's emails and that voters knew too much, okay? Then you're saying what? That they hacked voting machines?
I'm not saying the voters knew too much.
Well, what are you saying? What are you saying?
If the Russians hack into your emails and disclose...
Which I'm against, by the way.
And I'm against, too. But if they did that and disclosed things of public interest, I wouldn't seek to justify it.
But I'm not justifying it.
I would still want to condemn the Russians and protect us.
I'm going to keep you here until you answer this question, which is, how specifically did the Russians make this election outcome different from what it would have been otherwise? How specifically did they, quote, hack our democracy?
We will never know, whether this was determinative any more than Director Comey's involvement in the election. The means they used were...
See, so not only do we not have any evidence that the Russians did this, we don't have any evidence that it actually would have changed the results anyways. So so it's like, why are we having this conversation? Why are we having this conversation if we can sit here and say, without a doubt, we don't know if the Russians actually were the ones responsible for hacking the DNC or the White House or any other entity out there. And we can't unequivocally say that having the hacks would change the results, but we're going to say it anyway. Okay, we're going to say that the Russians hacked and that it worked in the favor of Donald Trump, and therefore the Russians were the ones that helped Donald Trump get elected. That's the narrative. All right, that's what they've been saying. Let's go on here and hear the rest of it.
Hacking into democratic institutions and the leaking of documents designed in the primary process to sow division between the Clinton and Sanders camps, something we saw actually took place as a result of that. And then in the general election to attempt to discredit Secretary of State Clinton in a way that would harm her and would help Donald Trump.
How did they do that?
Well, it was pretty obvious, wasn't it? They released documents that were
real.
Oh, yes, they were real, and they were ones that were damaging to Secretary Clinton. Can you point to documents that they disclosed that were damaging to the Republican Party?
Let's just get to the bottom line. You're upset because you think this affected the election. I get why you're upset. But are you arguing that voters, and other reasons too, but are you arguing that voters should not have seen that information?
This is an important point, though. It's not just the fact that it damaged the candidate I was supporting. All Americans, Democrats and Republicans, and particularly of the party of Reagan, ought to be concerned when we have Russia interfering in our political affairs.
But are you arguing that voters should not have had the right to see that information? If you could take it back, would you say voters, you're not allowed to see that information?
Well, I would say that we ought to stop Russia from doing this. Now, whether the press should publish the information or not...
Do you think they should?
That is a different question. I think that there are some cases where the public interest is so great they should publish. But I also think, and this was an issue I took with the press during the campaign, that when they do publish information that the Russians have hacked and the Russians want us to see, they ought to inform the public of the provenance of those emails.
But they don't know it, and neither do you. You don't know that. You don't know that the government. I think it's really irresponsible for you to say you know that the Putin government did this.
You know what is irresponsible, Tucker, for you to make that claim without looking at the evidence, and more importantly,
you can't say that you know the Putin government did that.
More importantly, for the president-elect today. To say that he doesn't know whether the Russians... You're
on the Intel Committee. Let me just ask you one final question. Can you look right into the camera and say, I know for a fact the government of Vladimir Putin was behind the hacks of John Podesta's email?
Absolutely. The government of Vladimir Putin was behind the hacks of our institution and the dumping of information.
Of John Podesta's email.
Not only in the United States, but also in Europe.
Okay, you're not... You know what? You're dodging.
And Tucker...
look and say, I know they did. John Podesta's emails, they hacked them.
All right, we're coming up at the end of the show here, so I had to cut that off here, but there's only about a minute left here. But you get the gist of what's going on here. The Democrats believe, or want us to believe, that the Russians were behind this. They have no evidence, no proof. They have no evidence or proof that it actually changed the course of the election, but they want us to believe that it did anyway. They won't admit...
The other thing is, John, is they're upset that there was no evidence against Donald Trump. There was no hacked emails against Donald Trump. So since there was nothing about Donald Trump, it's not fair. It's only one-sided. There was only bad stuff about the Democrats and Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, and I remember Julian Assange being asked about that. And He said the only reason we haven't published anything about Donald Trump is we couldn't find anything. That's what he said. We couldn't find anything on Donald Trump. Otherwise, we would have. So there you go. All right, so apparently Donald Trump is really good at hiding his secrets, or maybe there's nothing there to be revealed. And one or the other. Hey, if we can blame the Russians without any evidence, why can't we say that Donald Trump is actually a saint?
Or he's just
we don't need evidence. We just said it, okay? We got to go, guys. We'll be back tomorrow, 3 o'clock out here on the left coast, 6 o'clock on the east. God love you. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in to this edition of the Conservative Syndicate, the nationally acclaimed, globally syndicated, politically incorrect talk show that seeks to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state. We want to make you aware you can find and access all our show archives at our website, theconservativesyndicate.net, as well as our broadcast stations and times. That's theconservativesyndicate.net. We so appreciate you taking the time to tune in, and we so look forward to continuing to bring you the best in uncompromised talk radio available on the net today. And remember, folks, it doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down in life. It only matters how many times you get up. I'm John Matthews, along with Joe Hago, signing off until next time right here at the Conservative Syndicate. God bless you, and may God continue to bless America.